President Trump endures staffing problems, announces tariffs and tanks the markets, and says we should give drug dealers the death penalty. So things are going awesome. Ben Shapiro, this is the Ben Shapiro Show. It's been a rough 48 hours for the President of the United States. It has not been solid. And we'll go through all of the non-solidity in just a second. There are some real staffing issues over at the White House, some chaos in terms of the internal dynamics at the White House. Plus, the President of the United States unleashed the most ignorant tweet storm I have ever seen from him, and that is saying a lot. This one was on trade policy, and it is just freaking egregious. I mean, really. My 4-year-old daughter can probably do a better explanation of trade, and if it sounds like I'm being too harsh, I'm being not harsh enough. It's that bad. So I will explain all of that. Again, guys, don't take it as though Trump's never done anything good. He's done lots of good stuff, but his trade... I'll get to it. Okay, so before I get to any of that, first, the markets. Not having a couple of good days. They are down 5 straight days, and they've dropped in the last 5 days approximately 1,000 points. Now, is that the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world, except they dropped 1,000 points the month before. So one of the reasons they continue to drop is because the President of the United States does not know what the hell he is talking about on trade. And I say this advisedly. Okay, the President, I don't know if he got his degree from Wharton Business School on trade from turning in Cracker Jack box tops. I honestly, I don't know if he got like a decoder ring in the mail. I don't know where he learned his economics, but it is awful. It is just awful. And he's actually implementing it. So, as I said yesterday, he said a bunch of stupid crap on guns, and then he's not going to implement any of it because Congress is going to stop him. On trade, the President has plenary power, essentially, on trade because Congress has abdicated its duty over the past 50 years and given the President the ability to raise and lower tariffs essentially on his own for virtually any purpose. Here is what Trump tweeted out today. It's really, really dumb. Okay, this is 6 hours ago. When a country, USA, thank you, Mr. President, is losing many billions of dollars on trade with virtually every country it does business with, trade wars are good and easy to win. Example, when we are down 100 billion with a certain country and they get cute, don't trade anymore. We win big. It's easy. The levels of stupidity are like a Russian nesting doll here. You open up the top level of stupidity, and there's another level of stupidity beneath it, except it's an infinite regress of nesting dolls, because there is no tiniest nesting doll of stupidity in this tweet. Okay, so we'll go through this sentence by sentence. When he says that we are losing many billions of dollars on trade, you don't lose money on trade. When you go to Amazon.com and you buy yourself a used book, did you lose money on the trade? No, you voluntarily opted to buy a product. When you go to a grocery store and they give you an apple and you give them 50 cents, did you lose money on the trade? No, you bought an apple for 50 cents. This is the necessity of how trade works. It is a two-sided exchange, a voluntary consensual exchange, demonstrating both that you have consented to the exchange and that you have free will over your own labor and can trade your own labor and the products of it for something else. This is the magic of free trade. It's not just that free trade is more efficient, though it is. It's also that it is more moral because you get to determine how much your labor is worth and how much your money is worth. And if you don't like paying 50 cents for an apple here, you can go down the street and you can pay 40 cents for an apple somewhere else because of competition in free trade. When he says that trade deficits necessitate trade wars, and when he says trade wars are good and easy to win, name one. Name a trade war that was good and easy to win. You can't win a trade war. Let me take my example a little bit further. So you went to the grocery store and you bought $100 worth of groceries, but the grocery store does not contract with you. The grocery store doesn't buy anything from you. The grocery store doesn't use your services because, after all, you're a garbage man and the grocery store doesn't need you. So how do you retaliate against the grocery store? Are you angry at the grocery store because they didn't use your services? And do you decide that what the best possible solution would be is to not go to Ralph's, but instead to go to Gelson's, where everything is twice as much, and go over to Gelson's and pay twice the amount because Ralph's isn't using you, and Gelson's might? Is this what you're going to do? Or forget about whether Gelson's is using you, right? Gelson's may not use you either, but you decide that you're going to penalize Ralph's because Ralph's used to use you, and now they're no longer using you, so you decide to pay twice as much for your groceries. Does this make any sense? If Amazon.com is not hiring you as a contractor, do you stop shopping at Amazon and instead go over to the local bookstore and pay twice as much money? Of course you don't, because that would be stupid. Your trade deficit with Amazon is whatever it is that you paid for the product. When you buy from the grocery store, you now have a trade deficit of $100 if you spent $100 on your groceries because the grocery store didn't buy anything from you. Does that mean you should go to a more expensive grocery store? And that if you boycott the grocery store, you have somehow won? No, it means that you just chop your own leg off because you're stupid. Okay, that's what trade wars are. This has been known since the days of David Ricardo. Okay, this has been known for 300 years. This is 16th century mercantilism he's talking about here, and it's a giant fail. When he says, when we're down $100 billion with a certain country and they get cute, don't trade anymore, we win big. Okay, there are many countries in the world that have trade surpluses, overall trade surpluses. Let me name one of those countries that has a trade surplus for you. Venezuela. Venezuela has a trade surplus. You know why? Because no one in Venezuela has the ability to buy anything foreign. They put up enormous tariffs. And so Venezuela has a trade surplus. And people are eating dogs. People are literally eating dogs in the street. Trade surplus, trade deficit mean nothing. Because all a trade surplus or trade deficit recognizes is that you are paying another country for a product. You are voluntarily participating in exchange. And then that money is not being paid back by that country to you. But here's the magic of trade also. When you pay $1 for a Chinese product and it ends up in China, what do you think happens to that dollar? Do you think they just take it and store it somewhere? Do you think that it magically turns into yen? So now they yuan, so they can now turn around and use it in China? No, they have to use it in the United States because we have a different currency than they do. So they turn around and they invest it back in the United States, in our stock market, in our bonds. This is how the economy works. You have to be so economically ignorant to tweet something like this. It is truly amazing. But Trump didn't stop there. Here's some other stuff that he tweeted. He tweeted, quote, "We must protect our country and our workers. Our steel industry is in bad shape. If you don't have steel, you don't have a country." What now? Again, this is very stupid. Our steel industry is not in bad shape. Our steel industry, as I told you yesterday, was up 5% in production last year, and all of our steel companies have had stock increases over the last 10 to 15 years. Nucor, which is the top steel producer in the United States, its stock price is at $12 in 2000. It is now at $65. You're telling me that the steel industry is dying in the United States? It's doing just fine. 72.5% of all steel consumed in the United States is also produced in the United States. Our steel industry is not dying. Also, somebody should inform Switzerland that they're not a country anymore, because Switzerland does not produce its own steel. In fact, many countries don't produce their own steel. They don't produce their own steel because sometimes they don't have the actual materials available to produce their own steel. Does this mean the country doesn't exist anymore? I'm not aware that Israel produces lots of its own steel. I don't think Israel has like great steel deposits, ore deposits. And they import most of their steel. Is Israel not a country anymore and not a powerful country anymore? Of course not, because that's stupid. And then he explains further, Professor Trump. He explains, when a country taxes our products coming in at, say, 50%, and we tax the same products coming into our country at 0%, not fair or smart. We will soon be starting reciprocal taxes, so we will charge the same thing as they charge us. $800 billion trade deficit. Have no choice. Again, this is dumb. Let's say that China taxes our products 50% coming in, right? They tax every product that we send them 50% coming in, which means presumably we're not selling as many products there. You know what else is happening? Chinese citizens are paying at least 50% more for the same product. They're impoverishing their own citizens. They're just making their own citizens pay more for a product they could have gotten more cheaply elsewhere. So is the solution for the United States to jack up its own prices? Remember, everyone in the United States is both a producer and a consumer. In the steel industry, there are going to be a lot of people who are very happy with the tariffs because now they don't have to compete with foreign sources. But for every steel job, there are 45 jobs in this country that use steel inputs whose prices just went up. So Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, who's most famous for falling asleep in cabinet meetings and drooling. I'm serious. Okay, well, this is not a joke. Okay, that was reported by the New York Times. Apparently, Trump got pissed at it because he would legitimately fall asleep in cabinet meetings. Top men. Okay, and Wilbur Ross goes on television today, and he says, you know, there's a ton of steel in American cars, and that means that if you raise the tariff by 25%, it's only raising the amount of the car by like half of 1%. Chump change. Number one, not necessarily chump change to the guy who's paying for the car. An extra $175 on a $35,000 car is not necessarily chump change to everybody. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you're assuming that you can just make the calculation by the amount of steel in a car. That's not correct. There are lots of contractors between the ore and between the car. Okay, and at every step of the way, there is markup. So if there is a steel product that is used in the making of an engine, that is very often outsourced to another company. That means that that company now has to pay more for the steel, which means that they manufacture the product, and they don't just pass the amount of the cost on. They pass the amount plus the labor plus the profit. Right, so that means now they're charging more for that input. And let's say it's a piece of an engine. Now somebody has to put that engine together. And so they have to buy that product, which is already marked up. So they mark it up even more. And this is how tariffs snowball. When the president of the United States, Barack Obama, raised tariffs on Chinese tires, we lost 12,000 jobs in the auto industry because Barack Obama raised the prices of tires. Okay, and tires are a lot cheaper to manufacture and make and sell than cars are. Okay, this is all stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's economically illiterate. And it's so funny. There are all these people today who are, oh, well, this is what Trump ran on. He ran on this. So obviously he's going to do it. Yeah, I didn't hear you saying the same thing about Barack Obama. He ran on a lot of garbage, too. And then he did a lot of that garbage. And we were all kind of pissed about it, I recall. Okay, I was angry when Trump said this stuff during the campaign. This is not me new to the game here. Okay, I was writing